The wonder of seeing your faces and just being in your presence is such a gift. Thank you. Thank you for creating space for me to come back. This was Reverend Larry's idea, of course, in all his wonder of being. You've done well in your choosing. And he started in May asking if I could come in June. And I said, no, can't come in June. So he said, how about July? And I said, no, can't come in July. So then he said, okay, well, how about September? And I said, well, September sounds good. It's up their way. I think the experience of leaving you was among the hardest of things to do. And this period over the almost now 2 years has been a growing time, a recalibrating time, finding a new way to be in the world, living life with a greater sense of simplicity and openness to what's around me. I struggle always against simplicity because you know that I love to complicate things. So, but we love where we live. We're very happy there. We have a new dog. His name is Bodhi, short for Bodhisattva in training. Could have been Bodhi IT. And our 2 kitties and a beautiful home. And it's just wonderful to be here today with you.
Lots of Washington weather.
Well, we do what we can where we are. You've done a lot. Technology has come. We had a long dream about that technology coming, huh? And here it is. See? Sometimes you have to go away for things to happen, I think. That's all there is to it. All right, let's talk. Yeah, let's talk. We got time. The wonderful illumined being Adyashanti wrote a poem called Everlasting Inheritance. And I chopped it up and took the parts I liked. Kristen, you know how you do that. Nice to see you. It was the weekend of September 2nd, was it?
Yes.
2 years ago. Kristen said, I think I want to move to Santa Barbara. And you have created a wonderful life. Nice. This is as fair a day as any to begin the journey back to your origin. So lift your foot together with mine, and we will step off the well-trodden paths and into the uncharted woods where the essence of things lies, waiting for you to open your eyes. Have you not been told how grand you are, how uncontained, how limitless? Why should we go looking for more than we are when we are what we're looking for? The power of his words brings us back into center again. Why would we go looking for more than we are when we are what we're looking for? Every great spiritual teaching and every great spiritual teacher has brought us into the awareness when the individual begins to move inward into the awareness that the only place that we've ever been journeying is the place within us where our mind has refused to receive the message that we have always been home. The journey from our thought forms or our life stories, the journey through the sense of what life has cost us or caused us or taken from us or necessitated that we meet. That journey through the experience of our living that has over and over and over again reinforced that we will find something somewhere is over. The time of journeying and losing ourselves in everything, trying to find ourselves, is over. I believe that we are called to spiritual maturity in our time. I believe that in our lifetimes, the great challenge is moving from spiritual childhood into spiritual adulthood, into spiritual mastery. And that all the excuses that we've used in our lifetimes to hold ourselves back or to convince ourselves that our lives are about something else are falling away. The very fabric of things that we've held together are unraveling. Those threads of the fabrics of our stories are unraveling. The beautiful tapestries we created that contained our life stories and what we've done on this earth up to this point in time to try to meet and overcome. The time of that has come and gone. And the empowerment for our lives now, in the new spiritual vibration, in the energetic movement of the One Presence, in the impulse of life itself, is taking us from a place where we're in constant investigation into a place where we're in constant knowing. The spiritual childhood journey was, let me look everywhere and find everything I can that will take me home. But in our spiritual maturation process, in our spiritual adulthood, what we're discovering is we've tried everything. We've done every retreat. We've jumped off mountaintops. We've gone to faraway places. We've sat with every guru. We've looked at every enlightened teaching. We've dug. We've searched. I personally, if you could do it, I did it. And it didn't get me where I wanted to go. It simply gave me pieces that kept bringing me back to myself, back to the center of my own being, back to that place within my own heartbeat where the center of life is lived and the fulfillment is found. Over and over and over again, the push to find something has prevailed in this state we call spiritual childhood, even in unity languaging, which I just came off of 5-day teaching in Seattle for the spiritual education and enrichment students. And even the old languaging, they're tearing it apart in the classrooms, in the spiritual education program. They're looking at the way we speak about who we are as spiritual beings. And the language has always been child of God, containing spiritual potential, unrealized. Like there was some little seed in there that hadn't yet found its right nourishment so that it could flourish. But isn't it interesting that in reality, it's not a seed. We live in our spiritual maturity. We live in our state of spiritual adulthood. We move and have our being in the completion, in the whole, we say. And on the other side, we say, I'm still looking for my answer. I'm still looking for something that will bring to me. How many books do you have on your shelves? Dear Lord, people, how many books do I have? When I moved, how many books did I sell? How many books did I move? And how many books have I replaced because they're essential? I sold those books in the garage sale thinking, I don't need this one, I don't need that one. I'm replacing them one by one by one. I'm still deluded into believing that I'm going to find something in one of those books that will be for me what I will not be for myself. That somebody will speak the truth in a way that I will finally hear it. That some teacher standing here or there or anywhere could have a wisdom that isn't already your wisdom, or speak a word that isn't already your word, or give you an insight that isn't already your insight. You could have 1,000 ministers come before you. And you would say over and over and over and over again, I just heard it. I heard it in a new way. I just heard it. I heard it in a new way. I just heard it. I heard it in a new way. But what did I hear over and over and over again? That I'm a limitless being? that the power lives in me, that the accomplishment in my lifetime is contained within the very essence of my being, the very movement of the essence of my being is this full-blown potential that never takes a day off and never found me wanting for anything. I was reading something the other night and it said, God doesn't know war. God doesn't know you in your unfulfilled potential. Why? Because that which is whole and complete. It never sees you as anything less than you have ever been. In every breath, in every lifetime, in every experience of living, this divine reality in which we're housed is complete. There's nothing missing. And I can promise you I'm not going to give you anything today that you don't have except another kick in the butt. That's what ministers do frequently. We just push because we ourselves are looking and we want so much to find it. Find it? Where would we look for it, we say. Great metaphysical story. Little Dorothy. You remember little Dorothy? Blessed little Dorothy. Her dog Toto irritates a near neighbor, Mrs. Gulch, you remember, or Miss Gulch. A rather unfriendly type. Irritated by Toto, hits him with a rake. He bites her. She picks him up and she's going to take the dog away from Dorothy, Dorothy's most precious possession. Turn him over to the authorities. Dorothy runs away and runs directly into a storm. Terrified, directly into a storm where she is struck on the head. It's a story. It's a story. There's something in my life, the nature of which produces this sense that something has happened, is now happening, will potentially happen, that will do harm. And in the consideration of that harm, we split on the inside, and suddenly our journey begins back to realization of where home really is. She's flying through the air, you remember, and the first thing that happens is the wicked witch of the east or the west or the something is crushed by the house. And Glinda comes to her and asks her to recognize the red shoes, the ruby slippers. Asks her to recognize the ruby slippers. She says to her, "Look, Dorothy, there are ruby slippers." And all of a sudden, they're on her feet. They're a symbol of her protection. They're a symbol of her empowerment. They're a symbol of her way home. The ruby slippers, that precious something that is threatened on occasion by the experiences of the journey to find a wizard that will get her home. You remember the ruby slippers are of great value and great price. Why? Because it's her empowerment. Life is always trying to take from us our empowerment. Life is always trying to create that sense in us that something is missing, that we're at test, or that we are under duress, or that life is going to hurt us in some way or another. And so she faces all of these different tests with her ruby slippers on. She's had them the whole way. She has them the whole time. She gets to the wizard and is sent away again and goes back to the wizard and discovers he's a fraud. You remember? The one I thought could save me and give me what I most need is a fraud. I thought the world would give it to me. I thought my mother would give it to me. I thought my father would give it to me. I thought life would give it to me. I thought my husband or my wife or my whatever or my money or my job or my career or my ha-ha, 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 ha-ha would give it to me. Only to discover every time we tapped into those things, it didn't give us any greater sense of self. It didn't give us any greater sense of assurance about who we are. It didn't give us any greater insight or awakening into the reality of our being. It just somehow led us down another distracted pathway. And so she's here and she's there and she's doing something and she's got the ruby slippers on the whole time. And they discover that the wizard can't take her home. You remember, he floats off. He's got his own problems. He promised to take her home, and he can't do it. She's standing there by herself. Glinda appears, the good witch. The voice of reminding appears. She says to her, the ruby slippers, you've had the power all along. Do you remember this quote? You've had the power all along. I didn't tell you because I knew you wouldn't believe it. You've had the power all along. I didn't tell you because I knew you wouldn't believe it. Click heels together 3 times. Click, click, click. And say, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. Where is home? Where is home? Activating our spiritual energy requires that we utilize the power we've been given with a depth of belief, an investment, instead of playing with it like we were playing with Tinker toys. Spiritual ideas are the most powerful forces in the universe. Spiritual principles, the spiritual teachings that you learn, these spiritual ideas, the reality of your being, are the most powerful forces in the universe. We want the world to change. We want things to be different. The most powerful force in the universe is moving in and through your mind, your body, your being, the entirety of your life in this very moment in time. And the activation of that requires that at some point in time, we allow that catalyzing energy of our investment in that power to begin to stir up the vitality of our awareness. Not the power. We're not stirring up the power. It's already there. We're vitalizing and stirring up our awareness of it. It requires daily activation. We fall asleep so quickly. Wonderful story by Anthony DeMello. Spirituality, he said, from a book called Awakening. Spirituality means waking up. Most people, even though they don't know it, are asleep. I could claim that. Most people, even though they don't know it, are asleep. Why? When you're asleep, you don't know you're asleep, mostly, unless you think you're dreaming, in which case you might have a possibility of waking up. But we just stay asleep and not know we're asleep. Am I talking in puzzles? No. When we're really asleep, we don't know we're asleep. When we're having a dream, we might notice we're asleep. It's a good sign the moment we notice we're asleep and can claim it. What in the name of God was I thinking, we say to ourselves. After the storm has passed. What in the name of God, literally, what in the nature of the divine was I thinking? What was I using this precious power, this creative energy? What was I using it for? when I was asleep, when I'm asleep? You all know the answer to that because it's very personal with us all. They're born asleep, they live asleep, they're married in their sleep, they breed children in their sleep, they die in their sleep without ever waking up. They never understand the loveliness and the beauty of this thing we call human spiritual existence. You know, all mystics, Catholic, Christian, non-Christian, no matter what their theology, no matter what their religion, are unanimous on one thing. You'll love it. Get ready. That all is well. All is well. The mystics of every tradition remind us first that everything is here for you. And secondly, all is well. Though everything is a mess, all is well. Strange paradox, to be sure. But tragically, most people never get to see that all is well because they're asleep and they're having nightmares. Last year on Spanish television, I heard a story about a gentleman who knocks on his son's door. Jaime, he said, wake up. Jaime answers, I don't want to get up, Papa. The father shouts, get up, you have to go to school. Jaime said, I don't want to go to school. Why not? Asked the father. 3 reasons, said Jaime. First, because it's so dull. Second, the kids tease me. And third, I hate school. And the father said, well, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you must go to school. First, because it's your duty. We don't like that. Second, you'll like this one, because you're 45 years old. And third, because you're the headmaster. Isn't that great? Wake up, you've grown up and you're too big to be asleep. So wake up and stop playing with your toys, he said. Most people tell you they want to get out of kindergarten, but don't believe them. Don't believe them. All they want is that their toys be mended. Give me back my wife, give me back my job, give me back my money, give me back my reputation and my success. This is what we want. We want our toys replaced. We want our toys replaced. What's he referring to as our toys? Our stories? The stories we tell every day? The little toys, our little thought toys that we build our lives with? Our little construction blocks, our toys of what happens and who we are not and what we need and what we don't have and what we wish we had that somebody else had and she gets it but I don't get it and somehow she tapped into that but I can't get it. I hear these truths. I hear these ideas. Reverend Larry teaches them. Reverend Linda taught them. Somebody else teaches them. Reverend Kristen teaches them. But I don't get it. You know, it doesn't come into me. I don't see it for myself yet. And we're doing this and we're telling ourselves the same old stories. You know, it's about this. It's about that. It's about our abandonment. It's about betrayal. It's about separation. It's about and all the representations of that. And the reality is we're 45, most of us, and a little more. And it's time to wake up and give up those sucky stories that have been sucking the life out of your life. I'm not kidding. I'm watching it happen every day. Where? Aquí. Right here. Where? Here. We are generators of stories about everything, and most of them are contaminated by ideas that just take us further into the pit. And we say, I can't stop thinking that. Or I can't seem to get beyond that. You say, well, what day do you think? You've heard me say this before if you've been around with me. What day do you think would be a good day to stop? Or do we want to do it the next time around? Just slip out of these bodies, go into our spiritual light world, and come back and do the same stupid story over again? My mother wasn't there for me. My father didn't love me. You abandoned me. I lost something. I suffered. I was hurt. I was injured. All of that is valid in the experience of the moment, but when we define our lives around it, we lose everything. And even though we work on it and work on it and work on it, what I've noticed is it doesn't seem to go away. What we have to begin to work toward is spending as much time and energy on our spiritual awareness and the reality of our being as we do on all this stuff that fills our minds, our hearts, our lives, and replicates over and over and over again. The disciples are out in the boat, you remember, on the lake or on the sea. It's after the resurrection. They don't know what to do. He's gone. The magic show's over. No ruby slippers. Nobody tells them what to do now. Who's gonna dictate their life for them? Who's gonna make it happen? And they never really believed he'd go away. You know, what kind of nonsense would that be? Had all that power. They had the best time. Oh my God, there were healings and miracles, and oh, it was just a show. And he's gone. And suddenly they look up and there's a man on the shore, you remember? People. Have you caught any fish? No fish. Our master's gone. We can't get it for ourselves. It was Dorothy's story. I can't get it for myself. It's the wizard's story. I can't get it for myself. So now we have the disciples out in the boat. Nope, we fished all night. We can't get it. No fish here. No evidence that spiritual principles at work in my life here. That I am a spiritual adult inheriting all the possibility in the universe right now. No. Well, the man said, what if you put the net down on the other side of the boat? OMG. He didn't say, let me come out there and manage this for you. What he said was, you've got the power, use it. You have the potential, use it. You have the love, you have the freedom, you have the limitless nature. Get your net in the water on the right side of the boat and begin to refocus your attention and stop believing that something else in the world is denying your good from you. You've got ruby slippers. You've got a net. You are at one with infinite everythingness that is greater than any story you could ever tell. Anything that could ever defy you cannot stand up against one moment of your spiritual awareness when you know that you are fully empowered. Of course you can let something go. Of course you can. Of course you can let that story go. Of course you can. Of course you can take the action that's necessary. Of course you can. Why? Because you must. It's everything you've come to know and understand. It's why you have spent numberless hours sitting with your sweet little bottoms in those chairs. To have somebody tell you that the glory of the Lord is made manifest in you this day. Peter looks up. All of a sudden he gets it. I have seen, he said. I have seen the truth. Never too old. Never too old. Never too long studied. Never too anything. Always and forever. Just you. Holy, divine you. Nature of God in expression. The most powerful force in the universe. Today I awaken. Today I wake up and say, yes. It's not yours to fix. Jesus didn't go out and put fish in those nets. It's not yours to somehow try to fix what has already happened and no longer has power. And it's not yours to struggle and suffer in this desire for something you already have. Dana Foltz wrote a piece called Awakening Now. Why wait for your awakening? Do you value your reasons for staying small more than the light shining through the open door? Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Now is the only time you have to be whole. Now. Now is the sole moment that exists to live. Now is the sole moment that exists to live in the light of your true nature. Perfection is not a prerequisite for anything but pain. Please, oh please, don't continue to believe in your stories of deficiency and failure. This is your day of awakening. Click your little heels together 3 times and say, thank God I'm home. Thank God I'm home. Put your hands on your heart. There's no place like home, my friends. This home within you, your true home, the place where everything you've ever wanted is to be found. It's good to be home. It's good to be home. And so it is. You are loved. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.